I will tell you, this morning has already been a day, and I'm out in the mood trying to be today. That's welcome. It's Friday, February 6th. Makers and Movers podcast. Everything crashed this morning. I have a dead laptop. I have a dead desktop. And for whatever reason, the internet's being spotty. So I had to fire up another one. And yeah, it's not set up. So to try and find where everything is. And one of the weirdest things is that extra screen is on the other side, so trying to figure to get everything synced back up. Yeah, just not fun this morning, folks. Not fun at all. But hey, it's part of being a business owner. So I'm trying to get things set up over on this backside so it can work. And we'll see if we'll get to it. But hey, Makers and Movers podcast. It's the first time here. Welcome. Bet you love that type of intro. For everybody else, we just get stuff done. Now today, Friday, February 6th, first time here, a long time here. I didn't know who you are. See, it's glitching. Who you are, where you're from, what's in your cup, what the weather's like in your area, and then your five things. Five things that you are going to accomplish today. Today, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to get accomplished because I don't know what's savable or not. So it looks like I'm going through some computer issues this morning. So we have that. But then we have meeting I have way too many Zoom calls today with people across the world, and it is going to be a nightmare if I have to reset those. So, good times. Good times. All right, let's check in. I got to, you know what I need to do? We're going to change in the display because something is not right. I need to make, is that going to let me do there? Let's see, apply. Let's see if that one works. Oh yeah. Now I'm cooking with fire. Now I'm getting stuff where it needs to go. Jeez willikers, man. It is when you're used to something going away and then it just decides to crash out on you and not do anything, and then it asks for that stupid like 57-digit password from Google, from YouTube, from whatever the hell that's called, from Microsoft. Yeah, it's a nightmare to do all that and just wait. And I'm just smiling and nodding, smiling and nodding. We'll get through it. Anybody else? How's your day doing? How is your morning and everything going? I know today, what are we talking about today? I think my notes for that are there. Yes. Just looking, right? Just looking. How to respond when somebody says just looking. That's what we're going to talk about today. It looks like my stuff is coming up there. So I should be able to make this all work swellingly. All right. Now that it's in the right place. Ooh, now that's in the right place. Ooh, now we're over in the comments. Ooh, now I can see those. Ooh, there they are popping up there. Oh, looky. Now I can see everything. Woo, Kevin, good morning to you. Happy Friday. It's Friday. I'm over it. Winter Olympics, ready to roll, baby. I we got a long weekend. We've got Winter Olympics. We've got dance. We've got Super Bowl. We've got food. We've got work. We've got a long weekend. Greetings, Renee, from gray, soon to be snowing Chicagoland. I don't think we're due for any snow. I think that's just you. We're breaking the freezer mark for the first time since January 6th. It was wild. So this morning, it said it was like 45 degrees outside at like 6 o'clock this morning, which I went outside. I'm like, it is not anything like that. That is according to our local weather app. I went on the Googler and did it, and it said it was like 30 degrees. I don't know where the news was getting their weather from, but it was not here because it was cold. But I think I saw like 50s on Monday. That is definitely shorts weather. I'm telling you. Barb, good morning. North Central Minnesota, 22 and windy. Hot dandelion tea in the cup. Oh yeah, what's in your cup? I've already went through a thing of coffee. One. I might have to make another one because this day is going to get me. Banking, 3D printing, setup, embroidery run, clean office, Wilcom ES 2026 training. Hi, Renee. Hi, all from Jerry. Keith, checking in. Sunny Space Coast, Florida. Blueberry vanilla coffee in the cup. That's a different flavor. I'm not a big blueberry guy. Morning, Barb and Jerry from a very snowy Central Ohio. We have no snow right here. No, it's me running late, 100% because I went and that desktop said that laptop. I now have a laptop sitting on top of a laptop. Stuff just plugged in. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Gabriella, good morning to you. Good morning, all. North Central Nebraska from Elizabeth, from Beth. Water in the jug. Janessa, good morning. Well, that means we're drinking. Yeah, like legit. It feels that way. Might want to check YouTube. I was on it, and you weren't, sir. No, it's just no. We're there. Everything's there now. It's just a matter of coming back in here. Pasha, good morning. Coffee in the cup 41 and sunny in the Ozarks. 5 things: flock templates, mail orders, work on Shipley Store, download training videos, dash cam installed, and truck this afternoon. That sounds like a great day. Carla, good morning to you. Jerry's got a busy day. Print place shirts, invoicing, cut vinyl for names, prep for grandkids spending the night. Not a bad Friday. Not a bad Friday. Carla, first time here. Well, thanks for joining us. Yeah, it's just part of it. Like once it's just on a time crunch. If I didn't have this live right here, I could probably reset that and have everything back in, 10, 15 minutes. And then I go that way, like 6, 7. No, 10, 15 minutes. But I didn't have 10 or 15 minutes to wait. So it was easier to just get that going for you. Right? The rest of the day is going to be great. You want to know why? Because we're here. I'm here well enough to complain about something, so it's going to be a great day. Morning, Beth and Kevin from Renee. And Lisa, good morning. Rochester, no, 16 degrees. I'm not, I want it to be over and done with. I really, really do. So, what do you say we just, get right into it? Because I think there is a phrase, that does knock the wind out of a lot of at-home apparel decorators. And what is that phrase? We're just looking, you know. It sounds like a really polite brush off. Sounds like the conversation is over. It sounds like a quiet way to say, don't talk to me, right? And the moment you hear it, your posture changes. Your confidence can drop. You start to pull back a little. You shorten your answers. You stop asking questions and you really try to start trying not to be annoying to them. But the problem is we're just looking is almost always, almost never the end of the almost never at the end of the conversation. It's the beginning of one. That is as long as you know how to handle it. So, we're going to talk about, what that phrase actually means, why customers say it, and how to respond in a way that will make you, that feels calm and helpful and confident without being pushy and without begging and without freezing up on things. All right. So, number one, we're just looking. All it is a safety phrase, not a rejection. All right. This is where I feel a lot of people can mess up at. They hear, we're just looking and assume the customer is just putting up that wall. So they retreat, they stop guiding, they stop, asking questions, and they really just try and disappear politely. But, we're just looking is rarely about you or me, right? It's about safety. Customers say it because they don't want to be pressured, they don't want to be rushed, or they don't want to be locked into any decision before they feel like they're ready. Right? It's a way to keep control of the situation where they don't yet understand pricing, timelines, selections, or what they even really need. So if you treat, the phrase like rejection, what happens is you really end up turning it into one. Some examples is, coach reaches out about uniforms, says they're just looking, and you respond with, no problem, let me know. 2 weeks later, they order elsewhere because no one helped, no one helped them. No one helped them think. No one helped them pick out anything, So another example, a PTO volunteer said they were just looking at fundraiser options. You disengage. Another decorator calmly walks in, walks them through options, and becomes the obvious choice. So what do we need to do? All right. We need to stop hearing we're just looking as a stop sign and start hearing this. I don't want pressure. Just show me this is safe. Okay. Now, number 2, your job isn't to sell. It's to reduce the uncertainty. Early conversations fall apart when makers think it's their job to convince somebody. Convincing will create that resistance. Customers push back because they feel like something is being taken from them, whether that's control, time, or money. What customers, actually want early is just clarity. They want to know what decisions are coming, what matters and what mistakes to avoid. When you provide that calmly, what happens? Trust builds. And trust is what will help move that conversation forward. And this is more of a mindset issue before it's a script issue. If you think you're selling, you're going to sound awkward with it. If you think you're helping them, you're going to sound natural and confident with it. So some examples is that, a small business owner says they're just looking. So instead of pitching, what do? You explain which designs are the easiest, which ones are the headaches, what material you feel feels the best, what material you feel works the best, the budget. You explain the things to them. Now, another example is, a PTO group relaxes when you explain ordering windows instead of saying they have to buy it now. So, before your next early conversation, just decide, you know, my only goal is to reduce confusion for them. That's it. I'm just reducing confusion. We're not trying to make a sale. We're just trying to reduce confusion for them. Now, number 3, your first job is to keep them talking. Okay? Because that just looking, that's just a conversation test. You know, here's what actually happens when someone says we're just looking. They're watching you, not to see what you sell, but to see how you behave. They want to know if you're gonna, get weird or pushy or offended or desperate. And a lot of people fail this by just going silent. They think that disappearing is respectful, but in reality, it can really kill that momentum and puts all the thinking back on the customer. And customers don't want to think; they just want to be guided without being pressured to buy. Right? And it's your job in this moment is to not close. Right? You're not trying to close a sale on it. What you're trying to do is keep this conversation alive without making it feel heavy or messy or being pressured to make a sale. And that means asking questions that give them control and keeps them talking. We want to give them control and we want to keep them talking. So, some examples of this. A coach says, we're just looking. Now, if you reply, no problem, what happens? Conversation dies. If you reply with, hey, totally fair, are you comparing pricing, turnaround times, quantity, quality? What are you looking to do right now? You just made it easy for them to respond. Another example, a PTO parent says that they're just looking, and you ask, what are you looking for? The easiest setup, fastest turnaround time, biggest fundraisers. Now you're thinking together with them. So for this, let's just pick one organizing question and make it your default response to just looking. All right? Pretty simple, pretty easy with it. Before we get into 4 and 5, let's get back into that question or comments, concerns. Remember, put those in here. Kevin says, it seems like customers need a lot of hand-holding as they have so much going on in their business and personal lives. Absolutely, they do. The great thing is, the baby and they're starting to walk and you're holding their hand and they're there right there with it. That next time year round, they're walking on their own with you by them. That's kind of how this works. We just finished one up this morning. We've worked with them 7 years now. And they said, hey, we're looking at setting up another store. Right? Yep. Anything need to be changed from last year? Here's the link to it. Right? Nope, perfect. Done. Team store, done. 2 emails, less than 10 total minutes in it. And it was because we have explained the process to them before. We've walked them through it. We did everything we've done. So in instances like this, they just need to turn it on. Hey, we'll start now with the hand-holding. And we do this a lot with customers on both sides of the business, in fact, all 3 sides of the business. Because I'd rather hold my hand. I'd rather do that as much as possible, as early as possible. So they trust us, they know us, they like us, they'll want to purchase from us in the future. We take that time now. It doesn't matter if they're spending $1 or $100,000. Here's what we can do, and here's how we can work with you. Because the better they understand what you need from them, the better customer they become from it. And Kevin says, it's knowing how to not be pushy and bothering them is hard. We're just asking questions. We let them lead the conversation. That's all we want to do. We want to ask a question, listen. Ask a question, listen. We're just trying to gather information from them to give them the best possible outcome for them. And Yunin, I think so. Good morning. First time here from Southern California. Thank you for joining us. I agree, Kevin. I've written myself scripts to help me feel more comfortable and confident too. I know Jerry has. Kevin says, smart Jerry. I've got one customer that I made a checklist for the items that all they had to do was circle the size and color. Yep. And that's where we'll do, having the online stores. Make it easy. Boom, go there, order it, done. They don't have to do anything for it. Great prep work, Jerry. And great idea. Thanks, Renee. Some of them sound really weird, so weren't used. You'll run into that. I think it's important to listen to customers, ask appropriate questions in the situation. Absolutely. As I said, ask questions, listen. Ask questions, listen. Tim, good morning to you. Hey, Tim. Hey, Tim. All right. Back into 4. Just looking is where you set the frame, because if you don't, someone else will. Yeah, I think a mistake that a lot of apparel decorators make is that they don't realize they're making a mistake. They treat just looking like a pause, like nothing really matters. But have you ever known a customer just to pause while they're saying that? They're doing something, right? They're forming opinions. They're eliminating options. Building a story about who feels safe to them and who feels risky to them, who's actually helping them and who's ignoring them. If you don't help frame that story, somebody else will. Competitor, the internet, friends and family. And let's be honest, some of those are terrible at context. And so this is where the leadership matters. You are an expert in the industry. Whether you've been doing this 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you are the expert in the industry. They came to you because you know what you're doing. And what don't you do? You don't pressure them, right? You frame what matters so that they won't get upset later. And when you do it calmly, you don't sound salesy. You really sound experienced with it. So, some examples of this is a school says that they're just looking. You say, totally. All right. The thing that usually bites schools, in spring is timeline. If you want, tell me your event date and I'll tell you what safe looks like. Okay. So if they have it on this day, they want to hand stuff out here. Here's my production timeline. Here's when everything needs to be done, and you'll have it in plenty of time for your event. Here's how this works. If after this, you explain things to them. Oh, okay. So if I need something and it's going to take 7 to 10 business days, realistically, I need to make sure that I have it to you 3 weeks before my event date. Absolutely. And so if we're working on something and we need something to go for an order thing, 3 weeks before that, 2 weeks before that, what are we doing? So we just walk them through it, right? Another example is businesses that they're just looking. You say, well, when people compare vendors, the biggest issue is consistency. You know, cheap ones, cheap ones are cheap for a reason, and kind of you get what you pay for. So don't always shop on price. So for this one, let's just create one framing sentence that you can use every time. When people compare options, the thing that usually causes problems is blank. What is that? Timelines. Timelines always seems to be the biggest one. And numero 5, all right? Numero 5 is, scripts only work if you believe you are the solution. I think this, the real reason that the word just looking can rattle you is not so much the phrase itself, it's what just triggers internally. It triggers the fear that you're not legitimate enough to lead the conversation, so you just shrink back, you over explain, you apologize, you say my pricing's this but I can do this. So what happens is you discount offers that you didn't even plan that you were going to do. You sell things you didn't even plan you were going to do. You act like you're asking permission to exist, and that customer can feel it immediately. Confidence isn't about volume. It's about certainty. And certainty comes from knowing your values exist before the sale. if you can reduce stress, prevent mistakes, and make that process smoother, then helping is not annoying. It's responsible, and it's especially responsible when your customers are ordering for groups, for events, for other things. So some examples of this is a coach says, "We're just looking," right? And you respond, "Totally." If you tell me when your first game is, I'll tell you when the latest safe order date is, so you're not stressed out. Okay. Another example, PTO says, "We're just looking," and you say, "Perfect." Most groups care about simplicity. We can show you the easiest setup so you compare apples to apples. So, for this, just like before the next conversation, say this out loud. I'm here to prevent chaos, not convince. All right. So, to recap all of this, you know, we're just looking is about safety, not rejection. Early conversations work when you reduce uncertainty instead of selling. You know, keeping people talking matters more than pushing the order forward. Framing what matters early prevents bad decisions later. And five, confidence comes from knowing your value exists before the sale. So, if we're just looking ever made you just freeze, pull back, or doubt yourself, you need to hear this, all right? Just listen. This phrase is not a dismissal. It's just a request for calm. It's someone saying, "Show me this won't be uncomfortable." You don't need better closing lines. You don't need sales pressure tactics. You don't need to keep talking more. You just need to stay present, ask better questions, and trust that your experience has value before anyone buys. And when you do that, we're just looking, it stops being the end of the conversation and it just it becomes the start of a new one. So that's what we got for you today. Remember, we do this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Next Monday, what are we talking about? Why teams buy from people they trust and not the cheapest option. So we're going to talk about that on Monday. So, make sure to go like and subscribe and turn on notifications. Because like I said, we do this every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. Next week, Tuesday with Todd. I'm not sure 100% what we're doing. Whether we are doing, I think we might do an ombre rhinestone design, or we might do bling anything decals. I think it's going to be an ombre design, and then the following Tuesday, I think we're gonna do a quarterly ball drop. We're gonna give away a cameo, give away some stuff, maybe do some decals in it. We'll see. We might put some kits together and do that, but I think that's coming up here fairly quick. We want them 2 or 3 weeks out because I'm going to make sure we have time to promote that show for it. So, with that, any other questions, comments, concerns before we get out of here for the day? Let's see. What am I up here? Tim's right there. I have them sign the bottom of the sheet, so there's no dispute. Absolutely. Sign it. And don't make assumptions, right? We all learned this a long time ago. Don't assume. Makes the ass out of you and me. That is right. Melody, hello to you. Tim's pretty happy. Got my new Facebook ad up yesterday. Got 3 new leads for the tent business. Woohoo! Way to go. Pretty happy about that. Now it's turning into paying jobs. Absolutely, right? It's terrific, Tim. That is Tim. I'm here to simplify your process, not convince. There we go. You got it. Okay. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to wrap this up. Mentorship community, your guys' call starts in about 30 minutes. I'm going to go get another computer set up so I can make sure all that works. Everyone else, hey, we got a busy weekend. Who do you got on Sunday? Am I bad for saying I don't mind seeing the Patriots win? I don't think so. We got a good weekend. And the Olympics are here. So what Olympic sport are you going to be watching? Curling, baby. Curling. I may have already watched some. Just saying. All right. With that, we're going to wrap this up and get out of here. Ombre teaches how it's all in the visual, because you can have 2 and then you just can move and stuff so it looks visually right. And that's everybody's eye is different. Like one design that we were looking at, it doesn't look right because it's not all capitals. So you got a big, because it's the L one, you got an L here. So if you do an ombre and at the top here, well, the little letters here, they don't even get any of that top. So it looks weird. A lot depends on the design. There is no like set it, forget it type thing. It's go through. So we're gonna look at a few and then kind of explain it and go from there. So with that, everybody have an amazing day. Have a great weekend. If you got squares for the Super Bowl, hey, hopefully your squares hit. I got some weird numbers. We'll see. So we'll go from there. Until Monday, you guys have an amazing weekend. Peace, love, press on, and we'll see you then.